I'm back in the 2018 Honda Accord Sport 2-liter with the 6-speed. Thought I'd try a different camera angle and make another driving video. This is a passenger seat shotgun perspective, if you will. So here we go. This thing is still a blast to drive as always. Still only has 230 miles on the odometer. So, I don't really, that's why I'm not beating on it. Brakes feel really good. They're not quite as aggressive as the Acura ILX I had about a month ago. But you can tell that this car shares a lot of DNA with that car, even though the ILX is an older design. Turbo sound there. Yep, steering just goes where you point it. Still getting reacclimated to this clutch. It's, you know, it's easy to operate once you get the hang of it, but like I said, it starts to engage later in the pedal travel than what I'm used to. Feels really solid, and I mean, I really like the driving position in this car. I'm 6'4", and even though this has a relatively sleek design, I can still sit upright, and you know, my head isn't hitting the roof, and there's a sunroof for crying out loud, and there are very few cars that I can fit in comfortably like this. worth mentioning that I did get to drive the 2018 Toyota Camry. I drove, this was at an auto show I went to, I drove the XSE V6 and the 4-cylinder. I didn't really get a whole lot of time with the 4-cylinder, but I did get, you know, a reasonable, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes with the V6, and I was actually pretty impressed with that car. Mind you, the Accord, especially this Accord Sport, really I don't think has anything to worry about. I don't think Toyota's going to steal Accord buyers away, but you know, the current 2018 Camry, I was pretty impressed with it. Yeah, I've been driving my 2007 Accord a lot lately, and the clutch is like the exact opposite of this one, so that's why my shifts are a little off, but I just need to spend some more time with this car, which I wouldn't mind doing at all. About this 6-speed model is that compared to the automatic transmission Accord of this 10th generation, the manual has 4 fewer gears. So this is a 6-speed, the automatic is a 10-speed. So of course, when there's that kind of difference in quantity of gears, there's going to be a little bit of difference in power delivery. Now, one thing I do notice about the 6-speed transmission in this car, I think it's just because the transmission has 6 speeds instead of having 10 like the automatic does, but it kind of seems like in moderate to aggressive acceleration, there's a bit of a drop-off between first and second gear, which I'll show you here. But then the turbo kicks right in and makes up for it. So that was another observation I had about the driving experience of this car that I hadn't mentioned, is the spacing between first and second. It almost kind of feels like you're putting it in a higher gear than second when you go to shift. But like I said, the turbo really makes up for that. Because inevitably there is going to be a tiny bit of turbo lag, because a turbocharger runs off of exhaust gas and spins a turbine, so there's always going to be that little bit of delay. But that lag duration has been significantly reduced compared to turbo engines from decades ago, you know, especially say 20, 30 years ago. Now at some point, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it this week, but I would like to make a sort of side-by-side video of this Accord and my 7th generation 2007, because they both represent the most powerful version of the Honda Accord sedan with a manual transmission. Obviously, because the 7th, 8th, and 9th generations had the V6, and the V6 is no longer for the 10th generation, but you can get an Accord Coupe for all 3 of those generations, 7, 8, and 9. You could get the V6 manual in the Accord Coupe. However, Honda made, just for 2006 and 7, they offered the V6 with the manual in the sedan, which is the most similar Accord to this one, you know, minus 12 years or so. And, you know, it's really interesting to see how the Accord has evolved. And it's also worth saying that I've never driven an 8th or a 9th generation Honda Accord, so it's fascinating to go just right between a 7th generation and a 10th generation like this, of the arguably the most special version, the manual transmission version. One of the easiest manual shifters I've ever used in this car. It falls pretty well to hand, although because of the design of the interior, I feel like I'm kind of reaching across to it instead of reaching down for it. The throws aren't, you know, I wouldn't say that they're short, but they're not really long either. They're kind of right in between. And, you know, at times I might say that it is kind of, dare I say, vague feeling, kind of like you're just throwing a switch around. But, you know, regardless of that, you still feel connected to the car, which is what makes a good manual transmission. Alright, I'm back at home with both Accords next to each other. I just wanted to show what I was talking about. Like I said, it's just interesting to me how this basically evolved into this, and there's about a 12-year difference. So obviously, I mean, everybody knows what both of these cars look like at this point. 2018 Honda Accord Sport and 2007 Honda Accord EX V6 sedan. So, still night pearl with the black interior. It's got these big 19-inch wheels. Let me hop in the back seat here. So this is, like I said, I'm 6'4", and I'm sitting behind myself. There's a little bit of a gap under my legs here, but that's to be expected. But I could definitely tolerate a trip back here. Back to the 7th generation. Honda actually recycled these wheels from the earlier Type S models of the Acura TL and CL from the early 2000s. And definitely more snug. Not horrible, but just goes to show how mid-size sedans have definitely evolved and simply gotten larger over the last decade or so.